Good morning, good morning, good morning. We are at day 2 of a 14-day challenge. No processed oils, no sweeteners. Just, if you're going to get fat, it needs to come from your food. If you're going to get fat, it needs to be attached to your protein sources if possible. And just not feeding your body anything that's been processed or refined. A lot of people find that MCT oil, coconut oil, olive oil, avocado oil, things like that, they're fine consuming. But there's a big majority of people out there that don't understand or they don't even realize a lot of the problem that they're having. They're like, I've cut everything out. Why am I still having inflammation? Why am I still having, some kind of like heartburn or maybe some reaction to something that's abnormal, and you're not figuring out what it is because everybody talks about how clean olive oil, MCT oil, coconut oil, avocado oil is. Well, that's not necessarily true. That stuff still has to go through a refining process. It has to be processed. It's not in its natural form. If you were to take an avocado and press it and squeeze the oils, the waters, whatever out of it at home and utilize it that way, it would be in its more natural form than having to go through a chemical extraction or a heating extraction or some electrolysis extraction, whatever it may be. So I created a challenge, and I've got over 100 people that have joined me, and already by the end of day 1, people were saying, I didn't think I could go just with butter in my coffee. I didn't think I could go with just black coffee, but I was wrong. Some people said, you know what, today I cut the coffee out completely and I still had plenty of energy. And I thought because keto said, this is how you had to do it, or this is how you could do it, that I followed those rules and I followed everybody else socially. That was just my thing. But I realized that you're right. You're right, Rich. I am wrong. I didn't need that. I didn't need those things. I was simply just led the wrong path. I find that there are so many people that do keto that actually start believing what mainstream social keto says that you could do, or you should do, or this is an option, and this is an option ends up turning into this is what you should do. It's not true at all. The most natural way of eating is the best way to do it. And I noticed that when I cut olive oil and avocado oil out, not so much the coconut oil, I started feeling better. And then once I started using none of those products at all, and I was just getting my fat from butter, salt, animal products, throw in some broccoli or cauliflower in there from time to time, and then every once in a while I might have some organic style ketchup or something like that, just on a weekend, just as a little treat for myself. I started feeling way better when I cut out the processed oils as well. I think that we know they're healthy for a lot of people. And just like me, whenever I speak about things, I speak for the masses. I don't just speak for myself. And I don't typically just speak for one person or a small group of people. I speak about the majority of people when I do my videos and stuff like that. So somebody may say, well, I don't have that problem. That's not my issue. I don't have a problem with MCT oil. I'm not speaking for you. I'm not even speaking for other people. I'm just speaking about what I see for the most part. There are a lot of people that do not realize that even MCT oil, coconut oil, olive oil, avocado oil, these things can still cause some issues for you. And people that have gallbladder issues that have to consume these things to make up their fat, you recommend digestive enzymes or bile salts or, some kind of ox bile or digestive formula from Dr. Berg or something like that. And you're having to supplement because they don't have a gallbladder, when if they just simply cut down on some of that processed oil fat and they started getting fat from their food, it takes a little bit longer for that stuff to digest, and it's not as impactful on your digestive system that you would benefit from it in the long run. If your fat is attached to your protein, you can't go wrong. That's probably the most ultimate way to have it done, or to eat it. And I've been seeing more and more people amongst the groups that I had been, that when they simply cut out the refined oils and stuff like that, and they learn to get their fats from their food without having to supplement that fat alone or make a 400 or 500 calorie bulletproof coffee, they're better off, way better off, substantially better off. Bulletproof coffee makes your cholesterol go up. I've had people that talk about going in for fasted labs, and because everybody socially that fasts and they think that using bulletproof coffee is a great idea, which is a joke. It's not. To me, that is not fasting. I know Dr. Jason Fung says you can have some fat while you fast, but that is not fasting. Some people think because Dr. Fung says you can have bulletproof coffee while you're fasting, they decide to have a cup of bulletproof coffee the morning of their fasted labs, and then they go in and they find out that their cholesterol is 400. Well, why do you think that is? Bulletproof coffee is not going to not make your cholesterol go up. Of course your cholesterol is going to go up. It's going to go up because you're consuming tons of saturated fat, especially tablespoons of it, the morning you go get your lipid profile done. Your body's going to react to it accordingly. And now you've got all this free dietary fat floating around that has to be processed, and your cholesterol is going to go up temporarily. That's just how it works. You don't consume bulletproof coffee the morning that you're going to go fast. So cutting out processed fats, processed refined oils, and kicking the artificial sweetener completely out for 14 days should show people you can't do this. You do not need that stuff. It's a bunch of junk. I know it can benefit some people. For those people, don't defend yourself to me. I don't need you to do that. That's your right to do what you got to do. I'm just finding that those things are not as beneficial in the long run as people think they are. And if you can learn to do that through your food, you don't need MCT oil to create this kind of energy effect or brain boosting power. You can do that naturally through your body's own ketotic state. You don't have to do that from refined oils. And throwing some activity in there can enhance the natural effect of you getting your fats and your proteins from your food instead of having to supplement it. Last night I did a live video where I talked about the history of keto, the history of type 2 diabetes. And there's a site, it's called alphahuman.org. alphahuman.org/bleeding-sugar/. And I think the report is called Bleeding Sugar. Basically, it goes all the way back pre-1797. It states as far back as 500 BC, we've known that the sugar in the urine, or the sweet smell of urine, it was correlated to having too much sugar in the diet. And with your body only being able to consume so much sugar, the constant increase of insulin being spiked is what makes somebody insulin sensitive. And with the restriction of sugar and refined carbohydrates, increasing animal fats and moderate proteins led to the increased health of type 2 diabetics and could actually yield a healing effect. There was a guy back in 1797 that practiced this protocol. I just ordered, I think it's called Notes of his book or something like that. But I ordered the book. It's out of Canada and it will not be here until the 10th or the 12th. So as soon as I can get it, I couldn't find it anywhere else. And the guy's name is John Rollo, JOHNROLLO. And his book was all the way back from 1797. A lot of times I'll talk about the history of type 2 diabetes and a ketogenic diet being used. Well, keto wasn't coined until 1921, where a doctor was using it for epileptic patients. In 1920, 1919, 1918, they started practicing with forms of fasting coupled with high-fat diets because it mimicked fasting and the healing effects for multiple conditions. So we've known about this for a substantial amount of time. And on that article, you can read one of the doctors back then healed a guy that I've often spoke of, that a lot of our big-name doctors and stuff we follow socially, they don't ever speak of because it's just not interesting to people. But I'll speak of it because it's part of our history. A guy by the name of William Banting, William Banting, Banting. He is an undertaker. I think he was an undertaker in the UK, but he came to this doctor because he He was deaf. He got to the point where he was able to hear less and less, and something was going on with him. And this doctor ended up trying a extremely low carbohydrate diet with moderate protein and high fats, and within a matter of months, this guy's hearing started to come back, and a lot of his conditions overall went away, and the guy started to actually become just healthier in a more natural state. And they wrote about this back then. He wrote a letter that sold over 63,000 copies back then. And back then, to sell that many copies of something and become that publicized, that's better than most of the books in correlation to what's being put out today. And it was called A Letter of Corpulence, I think. And he spoke about his journey. He spoke about how a high-fat, moderate protein diet is what healed him, and how the medical industry has it wrong. Even back then, this doctor talked about, if you go to the different excerpts that are pointed out in the alphahuman.org /bleeding-heart / you can see that. Click on the associated links that are bold, and I think they're in red, and it'll say read, and it'll give you a link to click on it. And one or two of them are actually free ebooks where you can go through and you can read it right there on the screen while you're sitting there. And the doctor talks about, even in like 1855, I cannot believe, no, it wasn't, it was after the Letter of Corpulence came out. The doctor wrote a response to that letter being out and how successful it was. And what he said is, I cannot believe how the medical industry is relying so heavily on medication to fix people's problems when it can be done so naturally. And even back in 1868, 1870, this doctor was disgusted with how the medical industry was switching and becoming more medicine-based than naturally reoccurring foods that can heal people's problems. So we had a problem back then with the mass production of medication and using it to heal people on a smaller scale, as opposed to what we're dealing with today. Isn't that something? That's crazy how we can go from that to where we're at today, and the same thing be going on for 150 years, basically. That amazes me, because that just goes to show that we haven't got better, that we've only made things worse, and that even back then our answer to fix things was trying to push medications, probably for money. Anyhow, I just wanted to leave you guys some thoughts today. Plant a little seed in your mind, let it grow, and see if you can see if I can just jog something in your head to make you yearn for a little bit more research, get a little bit closer to me and what kind of stuff I'm interested in, and maybe make you a little bit more confident in the stuff I put out. Because guys, I wouldn't lie to you about things. I'm going to be upfront with you as the best I can, and I don't try to fit into a certain social media group or standard. I try to just do me. I try to talk about what's real, not what's socially marketed, not what I want you to buy or what you should buy. I talk about what's real, and I just want you to be healthy. I want you to flourish. I want you to subdue the earth, as it says in the Bible. I want you to live a long life, and I appreciate every one of you. Thank you for supporting me. Thank you for being here, and I hope you have a great day. God bless.